Thank you, Tom. Is Delegate Algie Howard still up yet? I think he got stuck in traffic, but he will be here later. So we're going to go right into our first speaker, Dr. Pamela Anne Bro. She has been supporting Peace Day since the beginning and is founder and pastor of Living Water Sanctuary in Virginia Beach, an emerging universal Christian community. She's also the recent author of Woman Quest, a trial guide to life, and consultant to White Buffalo, 2012, A New Beginning, a documentary film project, being done by some local fellows, the Martin Brothers. Some of you might know them. Anyway, come on up, Pamela.
Thank you, Mac. Thank you for, let's all give Mac a big hand and everybody. I don't know what we'd do without him. And I'd like to invite any of you or all of you to come join us for worship sometime at Living Water Sanctuary. I'll have some literature back in the social hall when we have our fellowship time. There was a little girl in Sunday school, and she was busy, 5 years old, busy scratching and scribbling and drawing frantically, and her teacher came over to her and said, "What are you doing, Emily?" And Emily said, "I'm drawing God." And the teacher looked at her and said, "Emily, no one knows what God looks like." And she said, "They will when I'm done with them." And that's how it is with peace, isn't it, friends? That we don't really know what world peace would look like. And yet we have to keep drawing. We have to keep imagining. We have to keeping on. And so, I know I'm preaching to the choir here, and I'm used to that in my little congregation, so I'm going to keep preaching about how important it is that we don't give up. It is very important to me, this quote that is by a woman from a Nobel Peace Prize winner who said, "No one tries to clean up an oil spill by pouring more oil on it. No one tries to clean up an ink spill by pouring more ink on it. Why do we think that we can stop bloodshed that's been spilled by killing more people?" Cindy Sheehan spoke at a conference, Building a Better World, that Tom Palumbo and Ann Williams and I went to with Tench Phillips years ago, and she gave a great new word for us. Instead of being patriots, she suggested that we all become matriots. That's based on the word from mater, which is mother. Mother of all children. Mother of all life. That we should be caretakers and protectors. Now, my friend Ethan Martin, who I know Mac knows as well from the theater community, and I are writing a book called The Helpless Person's Guide to Healing the World. 100 little things you can do to make a big difference. And I want to share with you today 5 things, quickly. First of all, I want to remind you of Mother Teresa's quote. It's one of my favorites. She said, "Most of us will never do great things, but we can do small things with great love." Can do small things with great love. So the first thing I'd like to suggest is that we learn a spiritual practice, and then we practice it. That's why it's called a practice. We put it into practice. I think Christianity, and Mac already mentioned this, referred to this, Christianity's gift is forgiveness. You know, Jesus was a Jew, and in the ancient times, Jews thought that to forgive someone 3 times, that was really something in an age and a time that practiced retribution, violent retribution. However, when Peter asked Jesus, "How many times should we forgive?" Jesus answered, 70 times 7. That was like the biggest number he could know. And so even though we must hold people accountable, there have to be boundaries when people are doing things that are wrong, still forgiveness, I think, is one of the biggest peace builders that we can practice. Thich Nhat Hanh, I spent a week with him and his monks and nuns learning mindfulness training. And breathing is a practice we can do from the Buddhist tradition. We need to breathe in slowly and mindfully at least 3 times to change the neural pathways upon which our anxiety or our fear or our anger are traveling 3 times. You sit at a stoplight, you can be at a checkout counter, breathe in slowly and breathe out slowly and mindfully. Now, it's not always easy to practice peace because we get angry. We get angry at the way the world is. We get frustrated and despairing. And I remember I was a goody-good for many, many years, being a pastor's daughter and then 6th-generation pastor in my family. I didn't allow myself to get angry, except in civil rights issues and anti-war movement. I was involved in those, but not in a personal relationship. And finally, I got angry at my then husband for things the way he'd been treating me. And I went to a therapist, a counselor, and I was huffing and puffing mad at the situation. And he said, I'd like to teach you to breathe. I'd like you to breathe. And I'd say, I don't want to breathe. I don't want to slow down. I am angry and I have a right to be angry. And then he said, let me give you this analogy. You're flying with a pilot. Pilot's your husband. And he's doing terrible things. The plane is going down. You are the co-pilot. Are you going to stand there ranting and raving and yelling at him? Because then you're both going down. And that made so much sense to me. And I started to slow down and breathe. So I share that with you. Now the second thing is that Ethan and I started a social movement on Facebook. Can't believe at my age I'm doing that, but you gotta make use of the new technology we have, and it's called Conscious Acts of Kindness. So I invite you all who do Facebook to join us on that, Conscious Acts of Kindness, and it's a place where you can report an act of kindness you've done, and what happened, what was the response, or maybe you witnessed an act of kindness or received one. So I encourage you to check into that. Then 3 and 4 are related. 3 is to learn about another culture or religion, and especially one that you're afraid of. I had a new friend recently tell me that he hated Muslims. And that was hard for me to hear, having some good Muslim friends. So I said, well, do you know a Muslim? He said, no. I said, oh. So I think we can begin. It's hard to get to know people of other faiths. We're still, I think, pretty much in our own special enclaves, but we can learn about the culture, their myths, their sacred stories, their music, and that can start to be a way that we can bridge the differences between us. And it's always a joy to be here to speak and participate because we have a diverse group of people here, and I just feel so blessed to be here. And the 4th thing is to speak up for the voiceless, to be a voice for the voiceless, and then work to empower them to be able to tell their own truths. And that's why I'm committed to the film White Buffalo, 2012, A New Beginning, because it's about Native people's prophecy, the Lakota especially. I did my fieldwork training on the Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota. And it's important that we make up for the sins of our forefathers, our foremothers, our government, and our faiths that have done such travesties to our Native American brothers and sisters, and so many other peoples. So that's going to be important because it's going to be interviewing these elders to have them share with us what is their wisdom for this coming time of transformation. I'm sure you've all heard about 2012, all the hype, all the fear that's getting out there about this transition time. And this movie is about love and about changing our hearts, opening our hearts, and becoming channels of peace for each other and reconciliation. Now the 5th one is, I want us to think about, we all know we're in a new paradigm, right? Or we're shifting into a new paradigm and in several ways. But the way that, way I think is important is we've been in 2,000 years, we have been in an either or paradigm. Either you're this or you're that. There's no way you can be both. But we're moving into a both and paradigm. We're growing up and we're being able to hold creatively these tensions between either, sometimes 2 opposites. And so I want you to tell me, what is the bird that stands for the peace movement?
Dove.
Dove, right? And what is a bird in our country that stands for aggression?
Eagle.
The eagle, right. Now, I've been a Dove follower for a long time in my interfaith work and in my peace work. I marched with Dr. King in 1967 in downtown Chicago. It's marked my life forever. I want to suggest, though, that I'm changing, and I think we need to be a both a dove and an eagle. I think we need to be a dove-eagle. Now, why is this? Because an eagle has incredible vision, and we need to have vision in the peace movement. We need to be able to think outside the box. We need to have a broad view, as the eagles soar and have this broad view. And then we need to have more strength and be able to be spiritual warriors. And the word warrior was anathema to me for decades because it seemed like it was against peace. But I'm understanding, no, too much, I think, a dove kind of person can be wishy-washy or doesn't have the strength that we need for these times. So I'm encouraging you all to think about becoming dove eagles. Now, Steve Baggerly is a dove eagle. If you've met Steve, you know him. He's so peaceful in demeanor. He's kind. He's respectful. He's a dove. But then to be able to go onto that property and know that he's probably going to do jail time that will keep him from his 4th grade son and his precious wife, Kim, and do it because he believes that the world has seen enough of nuclear war and destruction. And he wants us to stop. Yes. That's a dove eagle. Yes. And I'll close with this. This is a true story. It's about a woman. I heard about her when I was attending the World Council of Churches meeting in Atlanta several years ago. It's a woman named Diane who was a Christian Palestinian in the West Bank. And she told this story. In those days, and I'm pretty sure it's still happening, that Israeli troops would often go into a Palestinian home and they'd commandeer it for a few days, and they'd eat the ration, the food that was there. They would make the family stay in the home. The kids couldn't go to school. The parents couldn't work. And it's pretty scary, pretty terrifying. This had happened several times to Diane and her daughter. Well, one day Diane is watching her daughter look out the window, and the daughter is watching Israeli tanks going down the streets. And she turns to her mom and says, "Mommy, that monster is smoking a cigarette." So Diane knew something was terribly, terribly wrong. The next time that Israeli officer came in with his machine guns and his mask on and all of his paraphernalia with his men and demanded that Diane come with her daughter and come and sit together, Diane says, "Stop. I want you to take off your mask, put down your weapons, take off your gloves, and shake my daughter's hand. She doesn't even know you're a human being." Now, the men are shocked. This is the truth force, isn't it, that God had talked about? Yes. This is the truth force. This is the eagle strength that we need to have. Yes. Now, this man was so shocked that he did what she asked. But here's where the dove comes in. She invited him and his men to sit down for tea so they could talk about what's happening to their children who are all being terrorized by this war. Yes. And so, my friends, these are the models and the practices that I encourage you to start doing. Conscious acts of kindness, standing up, speaking out, and reaching out, so that we eventually, like that little girl, drawing so passionately her image of God, we will be drawing the image of peace, and it will come to pass. Thank you very much.